Elliot is a young cybersecurity engineer by day and an activist hacker by night. He has been diagnosed with multiple personality disorder. Elliot can lose control of his body, and control is taken over by another personality. We start with a guy named Elliot who talks about a huge hidden conspiracy in the world. It's all controlled by a small group of really powerful people, about 0.01% of the elite, who act like they're in charge of everyone without asking anyone. He feels like this elite group is always watching him and knows everything he does. Elliot thinks back to the night before when he found out the owner of the biggest Indian restaurant in the US was involved in something terrible through his hacking skills. He discovered the owner was running a child trafficking ring by getting into his private network. Elliot got his hands on a bunch of emails, photos, and info on customers. When he confronted the restaurant owner, the guy thought Elliot wanted money to keep quiet. But Elliot wasn't after money, he wanted to stop people like him. Right then, the restaurant owner hears police sirens and realizes his world is crashing down. We then see Elliot noticing some men in dark suits on the subway, thinking they're watching him because of his actions. He knows he's a threat to those powerful people because he can uncover their secrets just like he did with the restaurant owner. Then, suddenly, a homeless person starts bothering him on the subway. Turning away quickly, filled with fear, Elliot goes on with his tale. He shares that by night he's a hacker, but by day he works as a cybersecurity engineer at a firm called AllSafe. Upon arriving at work, his boss Gideon calls him into the office. There he finds Angela, his childhood buddy and someone he sees as genuinely good in this world. Gideon brings up a recent security breach that hit one of their major clients, EC Corp, a big cooperative firm in the US, that faces hacks regularly, costing them a fortune every moment. Elliot gets excited about the challenge the hack presents. After the meeting, Angela confronts Elliot for missing her birthday celebration, reminding him of his promise to make an effort. Elliot thinks back to the previous night, standing outside the party venue, battling his social anxiety, and ultimately deciding not to go in. He apologizes to Angela, vowing to do better next time. Just then, Angela's boyfriend shows up and Elliot, feeling uncomfortable, heads back to his desk. He has no fondness for Angela's boyfriend, knowing well that he has been unfaithful multiple times, yet he views him as more foolish than evil. After his day at work, Elliot visits his psychiatrist, whom he respects not for her insights into human behavior, but for her kindness and moral integrity. He admits to knowing quite a lot about her life, having hacked into her personal accounts. He's aware of her tough divorce, her string of unsuccessful dates, and her current relationship with someone named Michael, about whom Elliot can't find any information online. Elliot is with his therapist, trying to engage in conversation, but he ends up just talking to himself internally due to his distrust of others. When asked about his deep-seated anger towards society, Elliot silently muses whether it's because people admired Steve Jobs despite accusations of exploiting child labor, or because he sees all supposed heroes as frauds, or perhaps because he views the world as a vast sham where people drown each other in meaningless, so-called intelligent commentary on social media, which distorts reality. He reflects inwardly on how people seem to willingly give their power away to those who exploit and control them, choosing ignorance over facing harsh truths out of fear. Interrupted by his psychiatrist for not verbally responding, Elliot admits he doesn't have a straightforward answer but shares that what keeps him going is her understanding of loneliness and pain and her efforts to shield others from the suffering she knows too well, setting her apart in his eyes. The following day at AllSafe, Elliot meets with representatives from E-Corp, including their executive manager, Terry Colby. Elliot internally criticizes the core evil he sees in corporations like E-Corp, which dominates every aspect of life, labeling it a monstrous emblem of modern society. He grudgingly acknowledges his role in aiding them against cybersecurity threats. Back home, Elliot confronts his sense of isolation, occasionally overwhelmed to the point of tears. Unlike others who might seek solace in friends or family, Elliot feels cut off, haunted by memories of his mother's abuse and neglect, amplifying his loneliness. Elliot, mindful of addiction risks, consumes only a carefully measured dose of the highest quality morphine, aware that even a slight increase could lead to dependence. Upon seeing a photo shared by his psychiatrist of her with her boyfriend Michael at an eatery, Elliot waits for them to exit. He then trails Michael, who is attempting to persuade his dog to relieve itself. Seizing the moment, Elliot asks to use Michael's phone for a call, subtly noting his number before departing. Elliot discovers that the man is actually a family man with a wife and kids. Going further into his online activities, Elliot discovers the man's multiple affairs with various women, some of which involved monetary transactions for their company, including an instance with a young girl. On the street, Elliot confronts Michael, leveraging the damaging information he's uncovered. He warns him about the potential of alerting the police regarding his involvement with a minor, which could not only ruin his marriage but his entire life. Elliot insists that Michael must confess everything to the psychiatrist about his true identity as a married man who has been unfaithful. In the midst of this, Angela urgently contacts Elliot, informing him of another security breach at E-Corp and requesting his immediate assistance. This case is particularly crucial for Angela, as it's her first solo project and any mishaps could jeopardize her job. Upon arrival, Elliot realizes the malware regenerates with every attempt to remove it by rebooting the system. The situation escalates when Gordon, their boss, seeks details about the cyber attack. Elliot explains the attack's global origin, emphasizing that its goal extends beyond denial of service to potentially wiping critical data. He suggests the only remedy is to sever the company's internet connection, the malware's lifeline. Following his advice, the network's internet access is promptly disabled, and Elliot is swiftly transported by a private aircraft to the server center to address the issue directly. At the server center, Elliot closely watches the virus's movements within the company's network and manages to isolate it away from the crucial servers, effectively containing it in one spot. His proactive measure of cutting off the internet connection plays a key role in this success, earning him the manager's admiration. Nonetheless, there's concern over E-Corp possibly pulling its investment, a move that could slash the company's profits by 70% and diminish its competitive edge. After halting the virus's spread, Elliot uncovers that an entity known as F Society is behind the cyber attack. They reach out to him with a cryptic message, urging him to leave the virus untouched. Driven by a mix of curiosity and a hacker's instinct, Elliot chooses not to eliminate the virus entirely. Instead, he modifies the access settings from his device, maintaining a backdoor for himself to trace the virus back to its origins. On his journey home, while on the subway, a mysterious individual approaches Elliot. Elliot notes the phrase Mr. Robot on the man's shirt and seeks to learn more about him, but the enigmatic stranger exits without a word. Curiosity leads Elliot to follow him to a secluded area within an amusement park, where he's introduced to a group of hackers in a dilapidated carousel, referred to as members of society. Elliot discovers that the leader, who had been testing him with the virus, is among them. Mr. Robot reveals their gatherings are for plotting a specific mission, after which they vanish without acknowledging each other's existence. Confused and questioning the reality of the events, Elliot returns home, only to encounter Mr. Robot once more the following day. He brings Elliot back to the amusement park, where he unveils the true purpose of their endeavor to challenge and rectify the perceived injustices in the world. Mr. Robot shares with Elliot a vision of a problem that's hard to articulate, but he's certain about who's behind it and who's in control, including the fate of those close to Elliot. The root of it all, Mr. Robot explains, is money, which lost its tangible value following the departure from the gold standard. Now, money is nothing more than digital figures running through systems, software, and online platforms, forming a digital illusion of wealth. And their group, F Society, aims to shatter this digital illusion by targeting a major corporation like E-Corp, which thrives on the consumer credit model. This model traps individuals with high interest rates and fees in return for easy credit. By bringing down E-Corp, they plan to wipe out consumer debt across credit cards, mortgages, and loans, effectively freeing people from financial burden and sparking the most significant redistribution of wealth ever seen. Intrigued and motivated by the plan, Elliot joins their cause. Mr. Robot outlines the strategy to take apart the corporation, starting with pinning the cyber attack on its CEO. Elliot, determined, sets off to gather the necessary evidence. He tracks down the internet protocol address, which, after some sleuthing, points directly to Terry Colby, the CEO of E-Corp. Following Elliot's evidence, the company takes action, and Terry Colby is arrested 19 days into the investigation, giving Elliot a profound sense of achievement. However, his victory is short-lived. He's soon approached by men in suits and taken to a meeting with E-Corp's executives. There, the candidate for the new CEO, named Wellick, apologizes for the abrupt invitation and surprisingly offers Elliot the position of head of cybersecurity. Wellick proposes to Elliot that accepting the job offer could elevate him to billionaire status in just 5 years. Elliot requests time to consider. Alone with Elliot, Wellick reveals his vision for his company to advance its security technologies to become top-notch and plans to sever ties with Elliot's current employer, ensuring Elliot a position in his firm, confident in his expertise. Yet Elliot expresses contentment with his current job, politely declines the offer, and departs. Elliot encounters Shayla, who has come with his heroin supply. He witnesses her dispute with Fernando, her main dealer, takes his dose, and retreats inside. There, Elliot decides to infiltrate Wellick's digital life, guessing his password with the date of Sweden's independence. To his astonishment, he finds Wellick's digital footprint meticulously clean, too perfect, hinting that Wellick had foreseen Elliot's hacking attempt. Elliot wipes the data and dismantles his computer's CPU to hide his trace. The following day, back at work, Elliot's boss calls him in for an update on the E-Corp breach, surprisingly aware of F Society, the group Elliot had aligned with. His manager reveals a video from F Society that condemns E-Corp for decades of economic manipulation, governmental corruption, and the suppression of truth for profit. The video threatens to dismantle E-Corp, demanding Terry Colby's release, the absolution of public debt, and the donation of the company's wealth to charitable causes. Upon arriving home, Elliot encounters Darlene, the same person he met at the F Society gathering. She guides him back to their hideout at the amusement park. There, the group celebrates Elliot for his role in getting Terry Colby arrested. Mr. Robot then outlines their next move, detonating a natural gas facility near a data storage location that holds E-Corp's backup files, aiming to obliterate them. Elliot expresses concern over the potential for another attack readiness by the company, but Mr. Robot is confident, having successfully shifted the blame onto Terry. Elliot worries about the safety of the station's workers, but Mr. Robot argues that the greater good of their mission justifies some risks, proposing to trigger alarms before the blast. Unwilling to endorse a plan involving harm to others, Elliot opts out despite Mr. Robot offering him a stark choice: join or leave. Feeling indirectly responsible for F Society's actions, Elliot leaves, troubled. Elliot then visits Shayla's place, where he encounters Fernando, who insinuates he assaulted Shayla. Inside, he finds Shayla in distress, having been assaulted by Fernando. Faced with a tough decision between reporting Fernando, thereby cutting off his own drug supply, or overlooking the crime to keep his access to drugs, Elliot ultimately chooses to act against Fernando, witnessing his arrest. Meanwhile, Angela is at home, fretting over not being able to contact Elliot. In another part of the story, an unidentified hacker breaches Angela's boyfriend's device, invading their privacy through the camera. Angela's boyfriend gets an email from his secret lover inviting him over. He deceives Angela, claiming he's meeting friends, while the unseen hacker verifies the intrusion. Meanwhile, Elliot reconnects with Mr. Robot, offering a new strategy to fulfill their mission without causing explosions or injuries. Mr. Robot rebuffs him, accusing Elliot of abandoning their cause, and compares him to his father. Suddenly, Mr. Robot pushes Elliot over a barrier, leading to his hospitalization. There, both Shayla and his therapist visit. When the therapist inquires about his refusal for a drug screening, Elliot admits to using heroin but denies addiction. He consents to a test, confident in his ability to manipulate hospital records to appear clean. Once discharged, Elliot finds Mr. Robot at his workplace, who threatens to expose a scandal unless Elliot accompanies him. They visit a bar where Mr. Robot expresses regret, admitting their plan cannot proceed without Elliot, effectively dissolving F Society. Choosing to pursue a regular life, Elliot even experiences a mundane moment of buying coffee at Starbucks, embracing a bit of capitalism. He accepts his boss's dinner invitation, intending to bring Shayla as his date. However, she hesitates, feeling they barely know each other. Shayla then shares personal drawings on napkins with Elliot, captivating him, and they decide to officially start dating. Together, they join the company dinner, with Elliot trying to blend in with the crowd. Concurrently, Tyrell readies himself for his promotion to CEO post Terry, rehearsing a detailed speech to showcase his aptitude for the role. Tyrell is taken aback when his crucial meeting is unexpectedly called off. In a fit of anger, he encounters a homeless man, compensates him to endure a beating as a form of stress release, and later heads to a nightclub. There, he connects with Anawar and uses the opportunity to secretly install a listening device in Anawar's phone to gain unauthorized access. Afterward, Tyrell returns to his expected wife. Elliot is alerted to an urgent news broadcast and swiftly turns on the television. He learns that F Society has exposed a corp for improperly disposing of hazardous waste, resulting in numerous workers contracting leukemia. This revelation hits home for both Elliot and Angela, as they both lost their parents to leukemia, a consequence of their employment with the Corp. Motivated by this discovery and Mr. Robot's manipulation of his grief over his father's illness and passing, particularly his inability to hold the company accountable, Elliot heads to F Society's base. There, he takes a moment at his computer before deciding to share his own strategy with the group. Meanwhile, Angela comes home to find Steven, visibly distressed and eager to discuss a recent incident. He had purchased what he thought was a music CD from a street vendor, only to find it contained malicious software that compromised their personal information, including bank details. The hacker now blackmails them with photos of Steven's affair and images of Angela, demanding they insert the CD into a computer at their workplace, all safe. Angela is particularly concerned as her bank account is connected to her father's, posing a risk to both of them. Steven proposes going to the police, hoping for a resolution, but Angela worries that the hacker could then leak the stolen information or worse. Steven is upset when Angela suggests they should follow the hacker's instructions, worried about the jeopardy to their careers and their relationship. Angela is torn, feeling trapped and uncertain about the right course of action. At the F Society base, Elliot presents his scheme to target Steel Mountain, the site responsible for data storage, by manipulating its temperature control systems. He explains that the data storage uses linear tape open systems, which are sensitive to temperature changes, particularly the breakdown of polyurethane in magnetic tapes if temperatures exceed 35 dC. His team is initially puzzled until Elliot shows how increased heat damages the tapes, clarifying his intention to hack Steel Mountain's climate system to raise the temperature and destroy the data tapes. One team member brings out the facility's blueprints, pointing out its robust security. Elliot proposes exploiting a vulnerability through one of 6 key personnel. However, as Elliot explains, he's hit by a wave of heroin withdrawal symptoms and decides to leave. Soon after, Charlene urges him to come back. A team member expresses skepticism about their strategy, highlighting that E-Corp plans to fortify its security by spreading its data across various firms, complicating any singular hacking attempt. Elliot counters with insider knowledge from Tyrell, revealing that E-Corp's security upgrade is slated for the 1st of next month, giving them a narrow window to act. Realizing they have a chance before E-Corp enhances its security, the team enthusiastically divides tasks for the Steel Mountain hack. Elliot progresses with Mr. Robot and the team, but his withdrawal symptoms escalate, leading to seizures. Mr. Robot opts to stay by his side, delaying their operation by a day. The team becomes restless, suggesting they move forward without Elliot, who is crucial for implementing the hacking device inside the facility. However, Mr. Robot insists on waiting for Elliot. Elliot then proposes taking another hit to push through with their mission. Mr. Robot escorts him to a drug den, where Elliot, after dosing, gets shot in the arm during an altercation. Mr. Robot brings him back home, and when Elliot regains consciousness, he initially feels deserted, breaking down until Mr. Robot returns to comfort him, promising support. The team gathers again to aid Elliot through his recovery. In the meantime, Angela resolves to handle the situation herself, intending to use the malicious CD at her workplace. She swiftly grabs the CD before being stopped, later deciding to end her relationship with Steven. She confronts him about his infidelity using his device for the CD and plans to move in with her father temporarily. In jail, Fernando, mistakenly referred to as Fango, recognizes Elliot's role in his arrest and swears vengeance. At Steel Mountain, F Society creatively fabricates a Wikipedia page for a fictitious billionaire, persuading a staff member to allow them inside, fearing the mistake of turning away someone of such purported influence. Inside, Mr. Robot and Elliot plot to discreetly bypass the employee to access a higher-level manager for further penetration into the facility. Elliot employs psychological tactics to demoralize an employee, compelling him to summon his manager. Unexpectedly, the supervisor is not Wendy, who was preoccupied with her sister's childbirth. The team fabricates an urgent hospital situation from her husband, diverting her attention and allowing Elliot to advance. However, Elliot mistakenly wanders into an incorrect section and meets Eric, under the guise of performing a data verification task. Eric's offer for lunch inadvertently aids the team in reaching the second level. While Elliot discreetly plants the hacking device in the restroom, Eric, sensing Elliot's real intent, overlooks it due to his self-centered concerns. The team then encounters an obstacle with a Chinese security firm beyond their hacking capabilities. Darlene's attempt to enlist the Dark Army, a notorious group of Chinese hackers, fails as they opt out, dimming the team's prospects. Back at Elliot's, a disturbing discovery awaits as he finds Shayla missing, his apartment door ajar, and receives a threatening call from Fredo demanding Elliot facilitate his prison escape in exchange for Shayla's safety. Elliot protests the feasibility of Fredo's demand, yet Fredo insists, granting him a mere night to comply. Elliot devises a plan with Darlene to scatter several USB drives near the prison, betting on the curiosity of a guard to plug one into a prison network computer. Their gamble pays off when a guard, indeed, uses one of the drives, opening a backdoor for Elliot to hack the prison systems. However, the operation hits a snag when Elliot discovers Darlene's program has malfunctioned, leaving him unable to retrieve the necessary codes. In a bid to buy time, Elliot confronts Fredo in person during a visitation, but Fredo reacts with hostility, rejecting any extensions. Ingeniously, Elliot leaves his phone in the visitation room security area, utilizing the moment to breach the prison's digital defenses. He then intimidates Fredo by claiming access to incriminating information on his brother's phone, securing leverage against any threats to himself or Shayla. Fredo, recognizing Elliot's prowess, agrees not to harm him in return for his assistance with an escape, given the danger he faces from rivals within. Upon exiting the prison, Elliot, accompanied by Fredo's brother and Darlene, orchestrates a distraction with a nearby police officer through Darlene, enabling him to prepare the prison's gate mechanisms remotely. As they approach a remote area, Fredo's brother reveals his intent to eliminate Elliot, misunderstanding the situation until it's revealed that Fredo actually seeks his brother's elimination due to a betrayal leading to his capture. Elliot, capitalizing on the brother's fear of Fredo and his own demise, proposes a solution that would allow him to take over the drug operation post-Fredo's release. Agreeing to the plan, they proceed to the prison where Elliot executes the gate opening sequence, facilitating a mass escape. In a twist, Fredo commands his associate to execute his brother, consolidating his power. He then hands Elliot the keys to a car, indicating that Shayla had been in the trunk all along. A devastated Elliot discovers Shayla's lifeless body, overwhelmed by sorrow as he confronts the grim reality of his actions and decisions. At her dad's place, Angela stumbles upon a pile of bank statements revealing her father's deep debt from her mother's medical expenses. Motivated, Angela sets her sights on battling E-Corp and delves into research on the toxic waste scandal at her job. She reaches out to attorneys who've represented victims' families, managing to secure a meeting with one. This lawyer highlights the challenge of confronting a global giant and hints at the need for a witness to the company's manipulation of health reports and safety audits. At the same time, Tyrell and his wife reflect on their recent interaction with Jerry, concluding that leveraging Jerry's wife's insecurities could further their ambitions. They scheme to use her need for attention to their advantage. Elliot, engulfed in sorrow, dwells on his moments with Shayla, grappling with the pain of her soon becoming a mere fading memory. Angela, with her legal ally, demands a direct dialogue with Terry, devoid of lawyers or recording devices, leveraging the crucial evidence she's amassed. Terry concedes to a private meeting. In a bold move, Angela proposes Terry admit his role in the hazardous waste decision-making process, offering in return to claim responsibility for fabricating his involvement in a data breach, which led to his indictment. Terry, unimpressed, dismisses Angela in her offer. Undeterred, Angela warns him of the personal and public cost of refusal, suggesting his reputation will forever be tarnished. Angela exits, but a call from her attorney prompts her to revisit Terry's office, where they cement their arrangement. Curious, Angela inquires about the details of the fateful meeting concerning her mother. Terry's admission of their drunken state during the decision ignites a scornful reaction from Angela, reflecting on the gravity of their careless actions. Following the agreement, Angela confronts her boss at her workplace, admitting her impending testimony, which she's warned could potentially ruin their company. Opting to absolve her employer from blame, Angela resigns. Meanwhile, Darlene reestablishes communication with the Dark Army, and together with Mr. Robot, they focus on reviving F Society. Elliot chooses to open up to his therapist about his invasive habit of hacking into the lives of those he knows, leaving her distraught and feeling violated. In a separate scenario, Tyrell and his spouse attend an event with E-Corp CEO Jerry. Seizing an opportunity, Tyrell entices Jerry's wife to a secluded rooftop, exploiting her vulnerability. The encounter ends tragically as Tyrell commits an unthinkable act, leaving her lifeless and meticulously covering his tracks. As for Darlene, she prepares for a risky meeting with the Dark Army's elusive leader, White Rose, by secretly taking her boyfriend's firearm for safety. On the subway, she grows suspicious of two men she believes are associated with the Dark Army, indicating the dangerous paths she's navigating. Preparing her firearm, Darlene overhears two individuals emphasizing the importance of adhering strictly to their directives, a conversation she interprets as a covert warning to her. Back at F Society's base, Elliot tests the climate manipulation gadget prior to his rendezvous with the Dark Army. Darlene, upon arrival, opts to pass the firearm to Elliot, hinting at surveillance by White Rose's operatives on both of them. Acknowledging his unfamiliarity with firearms, Elliot receives Darlene's personal contact info, a rare breach of F Society's rules, stemming from her worry over his well-being. At E Corp, Tyrell steps into his office, unnerved, requesting his secretary to clear his schedule. Yet, she updates him on AllSafe's CEO, Gideon, seeking an audience. Gideon discloses upcoming testimony from his employee implicating themselves in the Terry Colby cyber attack, potentially absolving Terry. Gideon commits to unmasking the true cyber culprit or validating Terry's involvement, hinting at a security trap, CS30, designed to ensnare F Society by duping them into engaging with a decoy network. Appreciative of Gideon's frankness, Tyrell requests a solitary probe into server CS30. His focus is soon disrupted by news from his secretary about the police desiring to interview him regarding a rooftop homicide. Tyrell feigns surprise, then defers the police interview citing his current engagements. Meanwhile, at AllSafe, Stephen commands Elliot to transport a malfunctioning CD for repairs, exercising his supervisory power. Sensing Stephen's apprehension, Elliot elects to infiltrate Stephen's mobile device, uncovering exchanges between Stephen and Angela concerning her images and financial information. Elliot seeks Angela out to discuss her dilemma. Angela confesses she was coerced into potentially compromising AllSafe's network under the threat of her personal photos being exposed and her financial accounts hijacked. Elliot deduces that the Dark Army orchestrated this scenario to ensure their encounter at the CD repair venue. Upon arrival, Dark Army operatives escort Elliot to meet White Rose. She gives him a mere 3 minutes to pose the critical question. Elliot brings up E Corp's global data backups, impressing White Rose with his ambition to annihilate them concurrently. However, she critiques his readiness, attributing it to his focus on Terry Colby, which inadvertently led to Gideon growing suspicious, compelling them to infiltrate an AllSafe device to keep tabs on Gideon. White Rose admits to uncovering Gideon's doubts about Elliot, casting a shadow over their trust in him, yet allocates him 50 hours to gear up for the hack. Back at AllSafe, Elliot enlists Darlene's help to air a diversionary F Society video, enabling him to discreetly install surveillance software on Gideon's phone. The video serves merely as a smokescreen. Gideon, detecting Elliot's absence amidst the chaos, confronts him about his recurrent disappearances during critical moments. Their exchange is cut short by an urgent call for Gideon, related to E Corp, leaving their discussion unresolved. Realizing his position at AllSafe is untenable, Elliot contemplates his next move. Elsewhere, Mr. Robot and Tyrell find themselves in a tense exchange in a car. Tyrell reproaches Mr. Robot for withholding information, despite their supposed alliance. Mr. Robot counters, asserting no real partnership exists between them and attempts to exit the vehicle. Tyrell then alludes to a secret Mr. Robot harbors, insinuating harm to Mr. Robot's circle should it be disclosed. Unfazed, Mr. Robot exits, leaving Tyrell to contend with police inquiries about his evasion and his wife's shock upon learning of Jerry's wife's murder, having mistakenly believed Tyrell's intentions were merely unfaithful. Elliot shares a moment with Darlene, who expresses admiration for his impact on the world. A sudden kiss from Elliot leaves Darlene taken aback, leading to her revelation that she is his sister, plunging Elliot into disbelief. Distraught over forgetting such a crucial bond, Elliot reproaches himself for ignoring his therapist's advice on medication. He hurries back to sift through a collection of CDs, each marking individuals he's encountered, and stumbles upon an unmarked CD that he suspects pertains to him. It unveils childhood images of Mr. Robot and a photograph of them together, disclosing Mr. Robot as his father. A visit from Mr. Robot prompts a needed conversation where his father divulges his own struggles with recognition, explaining his initial dishonesty. Elliot, in denial about his father's existence, argues heatedly. They travel to their former residence, triggering a memory of a childhood incident where Elliot was hurt after revealing his father's illness. Confronted with these memories, his father tries to justify his actions, attributing his reaction to self-reproach rather than anger towards Elliot. Amid these revelations, Darlene, concerned for Elliot, turns to Angela for assistance. Angela holds Darlene accountable for Elliot's deteriorating state, suggesting his issues have intensified since Darlene's return. Darlene heads to their childhood home looking for Elliot, while Tyrell is at the hospital celebrating the birth of his daughter. His wife insists he amend his misdeeds to remain in their marriage. Returning to work, Tyrell faces dismissal over his ties to Jerry's wife's murder, his appeals for mercy unheeded. Angela and Darlene, learning of Darlene's location, converge at the old house and proceed to the cemetery where Elliot and his dad are memorialized. They encounter Elliot by a grave, deep in conversation with an unseen presence. Elliot's companionship with his father's memory fades as he acknowledges their actual absence. Back at the house, as Darlene retrieves medication, Tyrell confronts Elliot, claiming knowledge of his pivotal role in recent events and suggesting a collaboration with F Society. Despite Elliot's insistence on solitude, Tyrell persists in their alliance. Angela rejects a job offer from Terry, who visits her home proposing a position at E Corp following her departure from All Safe. Angela stands firm against working for the entity linked to her mother's demise, despite Terry's rationalizations about corporate misdeeds. Elliot's strategy unfolds, triggering a global financial upheaval and erasing countless debts, celebrating the dawn of liberation from corporate dominance, with masses hailing the anonymous architect of their newfound freedom. In the midst of the upheaval, Angela takes a position at E Corp and is immediately thrust into a crisis when an executive, set to calm investors on live television, publicly unravels, confessing his financial ruin before taking his life on air, stunning Angela. Elliot comes to Tyrell's vehicle, puzzled about his whereabouts and preceding events. He's met with public demonstrations, his own visage hailed as a hero. Rushing to F Society's base, Darlene confirms their mission's success. Yet Elliot can't piece together his role in sparking the financial turmoil now dominating global headlines. Seeking Tyrell for answers and accountability, Elliot's search ends in vain upon discovering Tyrell's disappearance. Piecing together clues in Tyrell's vehicle, Elliot suspects his other persona, Mr. Robot, might have orchestrated their scheme. Discovering a flash drive among a shattered pair of glasses, Elliot uncovers footage of himself alone, contradicting his memory of being with his father. Contemplating self-reporting to law enforcement as a means to confront Mr. Robot, he's preempted by his father's manifestation. Mr. Robot insists Elliot was the architect of their actions, urging self-recollection. Their public dispute, perceived as Elliot's solitary conflict, escalates into an altercation. Elliot's public denouncement of his father as an illusion draws a dismissive response from Mr. Robot, who claims to be the solitary reality in Elliot's existence. His father elucidates that the world Elliot engages with is founded on faux sentiments, ranging from ephemeral joy derived from substances, manipulative tactics in marketing, to nutritionally void edibles and indoctrination via mass media, further exacerbated by the echo chambers of online platforms. He asserts that humanity has been eclipsed since the dawn of the new millennium, urging Elliot to unearth some semblance of veracity buried beneath these layers. Feeling encumbered, Elliot yearns for isolation, at which point his surroundings vacate, leaving him in an eerily quiet space. However, his parents, through a digital interface, impress upon him that escaping their influence is futile as they are ingrained within him, hinting at a return to his solitary struggles if he attempts detachment. Seeking guidance, Elliot inquires about his forthcoming steps. His father suggests retreating to his abode to witness the ripple effects of his endeavors, savor the moment, and then deliberate on his forthcoming ventures. Elliot back at his residence, pondering over the repercussions of his actions and mulling over what lies ahead. The end. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like our channel and subscribe if you enjoy content like this. Also, let us know what movie you would love us to recap for you.